Thousands attend a vigil for the victims of a mass shooting in Cetinje as the government says weapons possession rules will be tightened. Police in Finland say the crew of the tanker suspected of damaging the Estlink 2 power cable have been detained indefinitely. UNICEF urges European governments to prioritise the safety of migrant children whose parents are killed at sea.
Travelers crossing the Romanian-Hungarian border pass through with ease after Romania joins Schengen.
Thousands of people have attended a vigil to remember the 12 victims of a mass shooting in Montenegro. It happened on Wednesday in the central town of Cetinje when a man started a shooting rampage after a bar brawl, killing 12 and wounding at least 4 others. 2 children were among the victims, and the man, named as 45-year-old Arko Martinovic, died after shooting himself in the head.
Pogađa me, to je nesreća čitavog grada, to je, ne znam, užasna tragedija. I mislim da društvo mora poraditi na tome da se ovakve stvari više ne događaju.
The government has declared 3 days of national mourning and all planned New Year's festivities have been cancelled throughout the country. Visiting Cetinje on Thursday, Prime Minister Milojko Spajic announced a tightening of rules on weapons possession.
Također, pooštrit ćemo kriterijume držanja oružja. Sutra ćemo imati vjerovatno Vijeće za nacionalnu bezbjednost gdje ćemo razmotriti sve modulacije, čak i potpunu zabranu oružja, i to dolazi u obzir. Ovo je jedna tragedija stvarno koja treba da se zapitamo ko sve može da ima oružje u Crnoj Gori, i sportsko i lovačko razumijemo, ali ovo stvarno kriterijumi se moraju maksimalno pooštriti. Pooštriti kazne, apsolutno, koji nelegalno posjeduju oružje, koji nelegalno nose oružje.
Montenegro, which has a population of around 620,000, is known for its gun culture and many people traditionally have weapons. In August 2022 in Cetinje, an attacker killed 10 people, including 2 children, before he was shot and killed by a passerby. Police said that Wednesday's shooter received a suspended sentence in 2005 for violent behaviour and had appealed a conviction for illegal weapons possession. Police in Finland say the crew of a Russialink tanker suspected of damaging a power cable under the Baltic Sea have been detained indefinitely. The Eagle S crew consists of 24 people, with Finland's Central Criminal Police imposing movement restrictions on 8.
No, poliisi on näissä kuulusteluissa ja tutkimuksissa pyrkinyt selvittämään sitä, että kenellä on ollut roolia tässä tapahtuneessa ja ketkä ovat olleet vastuussa laivan kulusta näiden tapahtumien aikaan. Ja tällä perusteella on sitten haarukoitu 8 henkilöä.
The Eagle S is suspected of damaging the Estlink 2 power cable, which runs under the Baltic Sea between Finland and Estonia by dragging its anchor along the seabed. The cable went down on Christmas Day, but there was little impact to services. The Helsinki Police Department seized the vessel and moved it to port in Porvoo a day later to conduct an investigation. The Eagle S is flagged in the Cook Islands, but has been described by EU officials as being part of Russia's shadow fleet of tankers shipping oil and gas in defiance of international sanctions. At the end of December, NATO chief Mark Rutte said he'd spoken to Finland's president and agreed that NATO will enhance its military presence in the Baltic Sea. Finland shares a more than 1,000-kilometre border with Russia and abandoned its decades-old policy of military neutrality and joined NATO in 2023 in response to the invasion of Ukraine. The UN Children's Fund has urged governments to prioritise the safety of migrant children whose parents are killed at sea. The UNICEF statement comes after 2 boats sank in waters off eastern Tunisia on Thursday, killing at least 27 people. It's a popular departure point for irregular migrants hoping to make it to Europe.
È intollerabile che un bambino debba poter vedere la propria mamma davanti ai propri occhi morire. È intollerabile che un bambino possa morire sotto nelle acque del mare. Ma ne abbiamo visti troppi. e non possiamo pensare ogni giorno che tanto quello è l'ultimo, perché dal 2014 ad oggi i numeri parlano chiaro.
According to the International Organization of Migration's Missing Migrant Tracker, 2,275 people were unaccounted for in the Mediterranean in 2024. That brings the total number of people missing since 2014 to more than 31,000. The majority of those are believed to have died on the perilous central Mediterranean route, which is used by people smugglers from Libya and Tunisia to ferry people towards Italy. According to Eurostat, in 2023, more than 2,200 people considered to be unaccompanied minors filed asylum applications with Italian authorities. For Greece in the same year, that figure was over 2,600, while Spain handled just 30 such applications. Applications for asylum from unaccompanied minors across the whole of the European Union have generally fallen steadily from a peak of more than 88,000 in 2015.
A few days before Christmas, this is what a border crossing point between Romania and Hungary looked like. And this is what it looked like on January 2nd, the day after the Schengen opening. As that day was still a public holiday in Romania, there were still quite few workers crossing from Hungary, but traffic was heavier in the other direction.
Before to be in Schengen, and in average, the car which you are waiting, people who are working outside, they stay around minimum 3, 4, 5 hours to wait. You can imagine for now there will be more. They can travel more often and can spend this time with their family.
But another man from Oradea said that he hasn't had such a bad experience, even though he worked abroad for 15 years in Spain, meaning that he traveled a lot.
Én járva Európát sokszor jártam Spanyolország fele, átmentem országokon, anélkül, hogy észrevegyem, hogy egyikből a másikba értél. Most már itt is úgy lesz, remélem, ezután.
És korábban így mi volt a leghosszabb idő, amit várni kellett?
Hát a leghosszabb ünnepekkor volt, ami több volt, egy olyan 20-25 perc, de 10-15 percnél többet nem kellett állni. Szóval azelőtt is lehetett átmenni könnyen, nem volt macera.
Bár a sorompók már szerda óta nyitva vannak az átkelőhelyeken, így itt Nagykerekinél is a schengeni zóna bővülésének gyakorlati előnyei csak ezután érvényesülnek majd igazán, amikor az ingázók megállás nélkül, várakozás nélkül juthatnak el a határ túloldalán lévő munkahelyeikre, és hasonlóképpen érezhetően gyorsul majd az áruszállítás is. Kónya Rita, Euronews, Nagykereki.
Austria's Chancellor Karl Nehammer welcomed Sweden's Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson to Vienna on Thursday on the occasion of the two countries' 30th year of EU membership. The two leaders held talks focusing largely on migration.
Wir sind Verbündete im Kampf gegen das Thema illegale Migration. Schweden ist hier ein wichtiger, verlässlicher Partner, eine starke Stimme.
Under Kristersson's conservative government, Sweden has tightened its asylum rules.
I think both the Chancellor and I, we share the desire to think outside the box now, not to settle and say things are complicated. We knew that already. Complicated things are meant to be solved, not to be discussed only.
30 years after joining the bloc, both leaders aim to push for stronger EU border security and better mechanisms for returning migrants whose asylum applications are denied. They plan to advocate for these changes at the EU Commission.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said diplomatic relations with Syria would be resumed and that Kyiv plans to double trade to Lebanon. Zelensky announced his intention to support all efforts to stabilize Syria and said the Grain from Ukraine program would collaborate with the new Syrian government. He also said exports of agricultural goods to Lebanon would increase. The Grain from Ukraine program was initially set up in 2022 following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Since its launch, it has sent over 200,000 tons of agricultural products to countries across Africa and Asia. Ukraine is a global producer and exporter of grains and oilseeds and has said it wants to restore relations with Syria after rebels ousted Bashar al-Assad. Kyiv traditionally exported agricultural goods to the Middle East, but not to Syria, which imported food from Russia in the al-Assad era. Russia was a historic staunch ally of al-Assad and granted him political asylum after he fled Syria.
The Palestinian Central Bureau of Statistics, known as the PCBS, estimates that Gaza's population has decreased by about 6% since the start of Israel's war. The decline of about 160,000 people puts the enclave's current population at 2.1 million. The Palestinian State Institution says more than 55,000 people are presumed dead. The figures include Gaza's health ministry stats, which confirm more than 45,000 dead, as well as 10,000 others who remain missing. The Bureau also estimates that around 100,000 Palestinians fled from Gaza at various points since the beginning of the war. Israel claims these numbers are fabricated, but they match estimates released by the UN's Humanitarian Affairs Office. The PCBS slammed Israel for its continued aggression against the Gaza Strip and the deliberate wiping of its population. International human rights groups, including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, accuse Israel of committing a genocide against the Palestinian people. They also accuse it of manufacturing a humanitarian catastrophe. The UN says almost all of Gaza's population have been internally displaced, some multiple times, and are at risk of starvation.